Hey there, welcome to the BossFit Show. Now, this is another episode of the BossFit30, episode 24. We're going to talk about sauna protocols. Sauna, not sauna. Sauna, definitely. So I'm not qualified for sauna, but sauna protocols. It's going to, and also some contrast therapy as well. It's going to back off. It's off the back of rather my last podcast, which was a little while ago now. I'm going to touch on that briefly, but there's going to be another podcast about that on cold exposure and cold protocols. These two should marry up together anyway. But since introducing the BossFit30 last year, now some of you will listen to this at some point and be like, there was what? There was used to be called what? But BossFit30 last year was a great success. Built out this 30-day podcast, but it got to the point where I'm like, hang on a sec, I need to do a complete rebrand and remodel and produce a new ecosystem here. And it took me a couple of months to get it to the point where I'm like, this is a fantastic ecosystem. People can come in, understand it, take from what they need and utilize it. And that's really where we're at right now, which is very, very exciting. But more on that on another podcast. Right now, we're going to get stuck straight into some sauna protocols. Now, I've got some notes on the computer here in front of me, so there might be a couple of times that I refer to them as we go. But really, what I want to get into, the juice of today, more than anything, is looking at how do we get the most out of sauna. Now, it's interesting because when we look at the sauna, I think the question we could start with is like, well, who would most benefit from using or having a sauna practice? And it's a very, very broad question, and there's a very, very broad answer. But I think a better question could be, who would benefit most from hearing the message or starting to build a routine of some recovery practices? And it's usually the answer of the person that's not doing it whatsoever. If you're too busy for some recovery practices, you're the one that probably needs it the most. If somebody doesn't earn enough to be able to save, they're probably the person that probably needs to save the most. And people go, well, that's a slightly different example, but very important. So what do we actually mean by that? Or what do I mean by that? Well, it's like, well, we look at high performers, whether that be in the boardroom or whether that be on the sporting field, or study, whatever it might be. Could be all three of those things. I know some people are all three of those things. They want to optimize and be very, very efficient with their recovery and their energy. Fantastic. Great. You've also got busy mums and dads. Now, there's a different type of issue that we run into with this, and one of them is that they struggle to put themselves first, and for very good reasons, sometimes a few very good reasons. But one of the challenges about putting at least time for ourselves first is that we are also simultaneously, and it's not as black and white as this, but there's a part of it, teaching our children to do the same. That as a parent, you always put everyone else's needs first. Look, in all candid honesty, my mother did that, and she let me know about it. It might have been letting me know about it that didn't really work. But I grew up thinking, like, I actually wish you did more for you. I couldn't do things for you. I wish you did more for you. And it actually developed this part of me of like, I have to be responsible for myself. It's not other people's job to be responsible for my emotions. I had to learn this. It was very tough for me, but they're not responsible for my emotions. They're not responsible for how I react. I need to take care of that. And that's really the core message with this as well. So yes, we can use this for high performance, for being able to recover well, to be able to sleep well, so that we can go and do the things that we love and that we can perform really, really well at. There's that, but there's also like, how do I just have a little bit of time for me in a way that gives me a greater return on my time investment that allows me to show up better for the people around me? And something like the sauna is an absolute fantastic solution for that if you have access to one. So in short, like the way that I've set up my facility here, I call it a private health hub. And what that means is like we cap out at like 150 clients. We work in small group coaching. We also work as an open gym, and we're also a 24-hour facility. Now, on top of that, we've got a recovery space, which has an ice bath and a sauna. It's an infrared sauna. We run bend classes and breath classes. We want to be able to provide people, and this is really important, opportunities to both work out and work in. We want to see the body as this like physical bank account where you have this expenditure and also these withdrawals rather, and then these deposits. And commonly people will think exercise is a deposit, and it's not. Exercise alone is a withdrawal. Very important, but if all we do is exercise, we become in debt, and over time we become broke, literally broke. So we want to be able to build these practices to be able to give back to our body, to be able to have these deposits so that we can balance our books. Otherwise, what we see is athletes doing a fantastic job of managing their stress levels and managing their physical and mental stress levels. And then we see like accountants going to an F45 class or similar and getting fucking hammered for 45 minutes and then leaving, and we're calling it health. It's like, no, this accountant doesn't need to do that. The accountant needs to be able to learn how to connect with their body. They're a human being. Don't worry about their job. I'm just trying to nail it down to profession. But they're a human being that needs to be able to connect with their body and understand it's like, what is going to be the best thing for me to be able to show up for my job and my work and the people around me, and also at the same time avoid burnout, avoid putting myself last, avoid long-term avoidable health issues, avoid all those sorts of things so that I can not just add years to my life, but life to those years. If we just go and exercise like a hamster on a rat wheel, it's not going to do that. We need to be able to have, and there's stages to this, but we need to have a more intelligent approach when we look at our health. So practices such as the sauna, practices such as cold, yes, practices such as breath work, meditation, good nutrition, good sleep hygiene, all of these things are work in style or deposit. How do you think about it for a sec? Deposit style activities that allow you to perform better. And so we want to think about this. So there's a couple of key principles that we need to take on board. And one is that you have to fill your cup. I know people hear this a lot, but you have to fill your cup. For you to show up as good as you possibly can for everyone around you, especially if you've got little ones, they're watching. They're not fucking listening, unless you swear, because they'll listen then, but they're watching what you do. And if you're just eroding yourself away, you are not doing yourself or them any favors. So you got to be able to fill your cup and be able to communicate the importance of that. There's balance there, and it's messy, it's continual, it's not just a one and done thing. But you cannot show up for everyone else if you're not on your A game, and that changes from time. Maybe sometimes you've got an A- game or a B game, but if you're aiming for an A game continually and you build a routine and practice, which is what I'll talk about later, I'll tell you how you can do that, you need to be able to think about, how can I be on my A game? The other thing is that sometimes people see training as just energy expenditure, and so they're so used to just seeing training as exercise, but training is more than exercise. And so we've got to delineate training and exercise, and more often than not, exercise is someone just being exercise. It's actually not that intelligent. It allows people to feel good, but it's like a dog running around a dog park. Sure, good, necessary, that's great, but you also want to go, hang on a sec, how do I do what I need to do for my body at this stage of my life? How do I train in a way that's going to allow me to move well for long, but move well now as well? I'm not just, don't just do soft yoga in the water so that you don't hurt your joints. Get out there, lift things, run, sprint, still do all that kind of stuff. But how do we do that in an intelligent way? And training is the answer to that. And training also includes all of your deposit type activities. It's all training. Sleep's a part of training. What you eat's a part of training. And what you're training for is the lifestyle that you dream of. That's the way to think about it. What you're training for is a lifestyle that you dream of. If you're training for a sport specific, great, that's fine. But otherwise, you're training for the lifestyle that you know that you can maintain and that you know would place significant value on this one fucking precious life that you have. There's nothing in the future coming that's going to help you get back the years that you're just waiting on. So, crucial. It's all training. And this is the big one. You need to slow down to speed up. You need to slow down to speed up. And this is where people can struggle with this big time. Massive. They think if they stop counting their calories, then they're going to put all this weight back on again. They think if they don't carry the same enthusiasm that helped them get fit in the first place, that they're going to lose all their fitness. It's the same as I think about it in business. What got me to start is not what got me to be successful as a business owner, and what got me to be successful as a business owner won't make me successful as an entrepreneur. The next stage of you requires a different way of thinking, and it requires a different way of showing up. Not just that, you're also at a different stage of life. So all of those factors, you need to be able to slow down in order to speed up. Think of it like investing in your early years. If you are investing in business, shares, Dogecoin, whatever, you're going to get little returns. So you may invest in, as much as you can here and there and everything. Later on, you get significantly greater returns for your best investments. And that's what you want to think about. How do I be very, very selective with the activities that give me the greatest return? And say no to all the other shiny shit. It's just shiny shit. You got to make sure you go, what's most important to me, and then what are the key factors and key things and key activities that allow me to do more of that? That's called training. Slow down so you can choose them, and do them so you can do the things in life that you want to do. So what does this involve? Well, three main things: your body, mind, and then method, systems, routine. It's sort of planning, basically. And so we're going to talk through that. We're going to talk with the body side of things, all the benefits of that. I could go through and, I mean, you can just chat GPT or Google the science of it. There's plenty of human labs and many other fantastic people out there that have great science and all the sauna stuff. My job here is to say, I encourage you to, there's probably three things with the body that I would encourage. One is to give your body different stresses every single week, right? Just gentle stresses, and you got to adapt it based on where you're at. If you're a female, where you're at within your cycle, and for everyone, where you're at within a work cycle, a day cycle, a stress cycle, all of that as well. Your stress should be able to just stress you. It shouldn't break you. So exposing yourself to all these mini stresses allows you to build, let's call it mind-body resilience. Which is crucial. It's a massive payoff in many ways. And so whether that be the sauna or sauna and ice, or whether that be other things like breathwork, training, all sorts of those kind of activities are going to be important to expose yourself to week in, week out. And what they allow you to do is start to build these little mental, I think David Goggin calls it, I know that's a very extreme example, but David Goggin calls it his cookie jar. It's like every single little win is just a little scratch on the wall for you to build momentum with. And so when it comes to our mental game with saunas and similar, it's learning to also take on this idea, and this is one of two things: think identity and intention, that you are the type of person that does this. That's crucial. You're the type of person, this is very normal for you. And if you don't think you're the type of person, if this is not normal for you, then you won't maintain it. And so the way that you mentally approach this is crucial. So that's your identity. But when it comes to intention, you want to learn, and it feels awkward to begin with, but just deal with it. Just do it awkward. You want to learn, what is my intention for today's recovery session, today's ice bath, today's sauna? And to begin with, people kind of struggle with that, which is great. That's the same as everything that you do for the first 1 to 3 to 4 fucking times. Just struggle with it. That's okay. But over time, the more that you get familiar with it, because there's some things that you do really, really well right now that you don't even have to think about, that you actually go in with an intention with. But if someone said to you at the start of that, you're going to have an intention, you're like, I don't know how to do that. That's the same here. But you've got to go into the ice bath or the sauna with an intention. And an intention, drill it down, is what is my intent of doing this today? And it could be just like, I just want to be able to settle down and calm my nervous system and feel at peace. My intent is just to allow whatever comes up to come up without judgment. My intent is to experience the cold and allow it to be uncomfortable without it changing my state. The intent is for you, that is yours, but what is your intention going into this? So when it comes to the mind, what's your identity? What's your intention? Crucial. And then you could look at three things: methods, systems, and routine. It kind of is all, I call them fourth quadrant activities, but the method is, which we'll talk through shortly, what's the method that I'm going to follow getting in the sauna and with contrast therapy? The systems are, what are the systems in place that allow this to be success? So is my ice bath and sauna next to it? Do I book it? How do I pay for it? All of that kind of stuff. You just want to make sure it's easy. You remove all those hurdles. And then routine is like, how can you fit this into your week? How do you fit your deposit activities? How do you fit your recovery activities? How do you fit your down regulation activities? Call it whatever you want to call it. How do you fit them into your week? It needs to be weekly. It needs to be weekly. And the reason for that is because it allows it to become normal. The things that are normal for you, you're probably doing daily, but if not at least weekly, if not at least every couple of weeks. Every couple of times a week, rather. Probably do some things every couple of weeks, but to get started off the ground, you got to. Because if you're only doing it twice a month and you miss one, then you do it like 3 times over 8 weeks, it's going to fall off the bandwagon, inverted commas, all over again. So how can I fit this in my routine weekly? And start simple. Start small. Doesn't matter. Start small, start simple, finish strong. That's the key thing. Don't start big. Just be like, I'm going to do a 15-minute sauna. And sometimes you'll be like, that feels like it didn't do anything. It was a waste of time. It's like, you fucking did it. You walked into the gym and you did it. That's the crucial thing, because you're going to have more of those that allow you to build momentum than going, oh, it's just not worth it, because that's how you stop doing it. So how can you fit this into your routine without adding more to your week? And there's a variety of different ways you can do that, but you've got to make sure you think about how you have access to it. Crucial. So let's talk about a couple of protocols, a couple of procedures. There's probably two main things that I would encourage to consider with this. One is, of course, there's a time component. How long should I spend in the sauna? Well, it's like, what kind of sauna? Is it an infrared sauna? Is it a finished sauna, like a steam sauna? They're going to be a little bit different. So you're going to have a time component. If it's going to be contrast, it'll be a little bit different. But if it's just going to be one-off, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, 45 minutes, it might be the sweet spot for you. It will differ between those two types of saunas. And then even with infrared saunas and steam saunas, they're going to be different between saunas as it is anyway. So it's hard to say the exact specific type, but the encouragement there would be somewhere between that 30-minute to an hour mark. Probably 45 minutes might be the ticket, really. But what I would also encourage, and what I've written down here, is I would encourage you to test and track your tolerance. So if you've got a consistent sauna, you start to use the first couple of weeks as a baseline. I'm going to aim for half an hour. What's the temperature at? How can I do that for half an hour? What is that like? Out of 10, how difficult was that? I can't choose 7. Could I have stayed in there for 10 more minutes, then I'll call it a 9. Could I stay there for another 10 minutes? I'll call it an 8, etc., etc., etc. Or maybe 5 minutes might be a better measurement there, actually. And so you want to be able to test and track your tolerance. And the reason why that's also really important is that if you're actually tracking your days anyway, you probably come to find that when you've got higher stresses going on, you might be finding the sauna, and definitely the cold, but might be finding the sauna harder to actually tolerate. And so you want to think about this test and track tolerance. Now, what I would encourage with your test and track tolerance is that you have two columns. One's mind, one's body. And mind's okay, I'm pretty relaxed, but I'm cooked. My body is just like, it's burning up. Or is it the mind? Is it a bit, is it running away? Is there some thoughts and you're a bit tired, a bit sort of a bit uncomfortable, all that, and you're more in your head. So that way you can start to track what is actually, is it a mind tolerance, is it a body tolerance? And then you get that data, and that's your data. Yes, subjective, but you'll be able to track your data based on how you're feeling and how you're tolerating and being consistent with that type of practice. So on top of that, if we're looking at, I'm going to keep all this stuff super simple. If you're looking at like a contrast therapy, which is commonly people doing some sort of heat, then some sort of cold, you could do a 23-3, 20 minutes in the sauna, 3 minutes in the ice bath, 3 times. That's fine. It's an easy way to do it. It's an easy way to start, and then people, as they start to build a base, start to adapt based on what they need and the different types of facilities they have access to, and probably where they're at with their adaptability with the recovery space as well. But yeah, 23-3 is an easy place to start. And then a really simple thing to add to that is that you want to finish in the morning on cold, so think cold mornings, and finish on the evening at in warmth. So finish on the sauna in the evening, so you have warm nights. Cold mornings, warm nights. The cold mornings are going to help basically keep you alert for the next couple of hours at least, and then the warm nights is going to help basically just drop your core temperature a little bit so that you can start to get ready to go to sleep. So really important. The other thing, there's a little caveat there, you can also start looking at doing some form of like breath work in the sauna. There's a great little 12-minute flow that Gina put. It's in the BSFT30 that you can do. But yeah, it's also a great place if you're comfortable in there to just do some sort of down regulation breath work. Just a little flow. It's an easy way to couple that and really get a good return on your investment. Team, that's all I'm going to go through today with the sauna stuff. If you have any questions, please, of course, reach out. I'm pumped. I'm super pumped for the next few, not just podcasts, but what's happening with the BSFT30 and BOSFit and everything in general. So I know I've got a heap of resources. You can check them out below in the links. Everything from being able to actually now test your generational health and performance score, from that right through to immersions, flow community, whole range of things. You can see more in the Discord notes below. That'll do. Description. You can even join us for a weekly free training, which we do on the DENT goals, which more information on that later. I'm done. I'm out. Until next time, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.